So the big question is this: how are those in the self-storage industry like us going to be successful in today's market? That's the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is Jim Ross, and welcome to the Self-Storage Show.
Hi everyone, this is Jim Ross with the Self-Storage Show. Thanks again for tuning in. Today's episode, this comes from a conversation I had a couple days ago with someone that called me about their storage business. And I know when he has those kind of questions and is looking at that kind of service, well, that means there's a lot more out there that I'm not talking to. So let's make an episode about it. He had called and we were just discussing he's been in storage for a long time. Manager's been around for a long time as well. And just having that feeling of, okay, especially coming into 2021, which, man, that sounds weird to say, but coming into next year is like, okay, it's just time to maybe have some fresh eyes. I think that was the term, some fresh eyes coming and look at our business, just see what some things maybe we could improve upon. Look at our revenue to see what kind of holes there might be to recoup some of that revenue we're losing every month. And I've done these kind of reports for years, quite frankly, just never really put a platform to it and be like, okay, now call me, we'll schedule a time and do this kind of thing. And so, it's importance of an audit is what it is. And I personally hate using the word audit because that kind of brings up negative feelings and kind of stress, of an audit. I'm not the IRS. It's more of a financial analysis. Okay, it's a good way to put it. And with that, usually I'll come in, go to sites that, again, owners that just kind of have that feeling of it's been around for a long time, kind of complacency, might be setting in, or they can actually see that there's blind spots. A lot of times you've been in the storage business for a while, or an owner or manager at that location. I don't know, it just kind of gets to be like it's the same old kind of a deal. And lots of times this fresh set of eyes coming in, experienced set of eyes that can quickly just start seeing, here you can improve on this, here, that's a little bit of inefficiency right there. All that kind of stuff helps, tremendously in helping your monthly revenue. And it's not just looking strictly at revenue. In fact, I'll get to that here in a minute, kind of more of the 360 analysis that you're looking at. There was a guy, this quick story time reminds me, it's been a few years back now, but there was I'm an owner in Yuma, Arizona, and I can talk to him about it. I won't get specifics, but this site's been sold 3 times since then, so it's fine. Anyway, he called me up and he actually watched a video I did like years ago. And it's like, hey, this is cool. Come down. I'm here in Utah, so I'm like, it's not bad. It's a quick flight and a little bit of a drive, so yeah, I'll come down. Went to his site, and he's like, well, meet with me in my office first. We'll talk a little bit, and then we'll go to the site. I'm like, all right, cool. And go to his office, and he's just telling me the story of it. Kind of same thing. It's been around for, I think that site was 15 years old. That owner had owned. And kind of gave me a little bit of history. And he's like, and then my manager, hey, he's been with me for 10 years. I'm like, oh, cool. A long time manager, that's hard to find. Sometimes having someone that loyal. We'll get to that in a second, if he was loyal or not. You know where this is going. And he's like, okay, yeah, I just want, same thing, just kind of outside perspective, just kind of tell me what I'm not seeing and what we can do to improve. I'm like, cool, let's go. Glad to have you on board. So we went to the site. And we walk in, and first thing the owner puts his arm around the manager, like, this is my right-hand man here. If it wasn't for him, the site wouldn't be where it is. I'd be lost without him. Just saying, and again, managers, where I come from. You're the foundation, you're the backbone. You're what makes the thing run. We give the keys of the kingdom and tell you to run a multi-million-dollar facility. Love my managers. But at the same time, there needs to be some checks and balances and accountability in place too. It helps operations and everything move along. And after just some initial questions of just talking about, how is there accountability going on and some communication. And I quickly realized there's some red flags. There's some red flags going on. Anyway, kind of long story short, the owner left, sat down with the manager, and there was a receipt on the counter for $50 for a handwritten receipt. And it said like auction, which was like 3 days prior to that, auction, unit number, had the guy's name, $50. And I'm like, oh, had an auction, huh? He's like, yeah. And I'm cool. All right. Just simple conversation. Like, well, how many units did you have that went to auction? He's like, oh, it was a pretty big one. I think we had 10 all said and done. We sold 10 units. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's pretty good size. Like, how often do you do them? It's like, oh, every 3 or 4 months. I'm like, well, at least you're being consistent, on doing your auctions. That's good. And I'm like, oh, $50. Cool. Do you mind if I just, you got the receipt here. Can you just give me the other receipts? Usually I do the auctions later on in the day, but hey, it's right here. Let's just tidy up your auction process and kind of go through that. And he kind of, kind of him and hawed for a minute. He's like, yeah, I think I got the receipts in the back. He goes in the back, and I hear him digging through a box of you just hear papers. I'm like, what is he doing? And he comes back and he's like, I can't find I'm looking for the receipts. I just can't find them. I'm like, dude, you just had an auction 3 days ago. You can't find the paperwork? Okay, well, all right. Well, what about the auction prior to that? You just pull some of those reports and it should be just, kind of all together. And just couldn't find them. And so I kind of passed off just a little bit and didn't want to dwell too much on it right at the very beginning. So I just asked him, well, cool, this guy, because I know the auctions, especially the live auctions back in the day, it was always the same crew, every single time at these auctions. And so I just asked, hey, this guy that bought this unit, did you buy a lot? He's like, oh yeah, that guy, he bought almost all of them at this auction. I'm like, oh, all right. You get some money out of it? I mean, would you have totals on that? Is it in the software? Totals what you got from the auction? Again, kind of him and hawed. He's like, well, that guy, he just gave me $50 for every single unit. And he was just trying to moving on. Like, that's not normal, And anyway, there was a number on there. I just called the guy right in front of him of the manager, and I just called the auction buyer and just said, hey, I'm just going through some records here. I misplaced a couple of receipts. Do you have your receipts by any chance? He's like, oh yeah, man, it's right here. And he started reading them off to me. And one was like $500, one was $300, one was like $700. Just a lot more than $50 at what he paid for. And the manager's just like, he knew it was caught. He knew he was caught. So I just told him, like, all right, we'll get to that a little bit later, because I've been there for 10 minutes and I already uncovered this, And so I'm like, just let's just show that for a second. Let's move on. And I started just talking about other things in the business and just pulling up a management summary and kind of pulling up some different questions I might have asked and going through it, and just very, very quickly realized there was some shady stuff. Should use another word, but there was some shady stuff going on at this property. And I just told him, I'm like, there's a lot going on at the moment. In fact, let me just kind of start from ground zero. I'm just kind of reset the rest of my day. Do you mind just going and doing like a walk around real quick for me while I, get things tidied up? He's like, cool. All right, yeah, I'm gonna go do a walk around. I'm like, all right, see ya. Took me about another 10 minutes just pulling some simple audit reports in your storage software and just kind of connecting the dots. Quickly realized just within that little time frame, so mind you, I've been there for about 30 minutes at this point, max. I uncovered about $5 to $7 grand in that range on average a month that this dude was stealing. And it's not that hard to figure out when you know what you're looking for, okay? Made my heart sink. I was just like, oh my God. And it wasn't like easily proven, it wasn't like assumptions. You could just figure it out. called the owner up. I'm like, hey, I know you got me here for the day to do a financial analysis report, audit for your site. Yeah, I'm gonna be here for a couple more days. He's like, why? What's gonna take? I'm like, because I'm gonna find you a new manager. I'm gonna fire your manager in about 10 minutes when he gets back. And the owner's kind of like, what? Because again, this owner's been there. This manager's been there for 10 years. He's his right-hand man. I'm like, yeah, dude. He's just. I told him I found. I'm like, yeah, it's much worse than that. That's what I've uncovered just in this little time frame here. And the owner's credit. It's like, cool. Do what you gotta do. So yeah, I wasn't there I was just as a consultant, but I kind of quickly put on my like a regular manager hat for this property that I had no business in doing this, but got the owner's blessing. And it was kind of funny because as I was going through the office, I found this guy had a gun that was under the counter. And so right at the same time, the manager comes back in. And so I stood up and kind of put myself between him and the gun under the counter and just told him, like, dude, this is what I found. The jig is up. You can tell me what's going on if you want. I just, uncover it myself. But hey, if you want to come clean right now, maybe use your conscience a little bit and help us, with the process, now's your chance. And he just said some choice words to me, said he doesn't have to deal with this crap, and left. I'm like, well, cool. At least I'm not a big man, but I was ready to fight. Didn't fight, thankfully. He left, locked the door, locksmith, called locksmith, changed all the locks. Yeah, and then tried to find a new manager. So, which we did. It was actually, that part was pretty seamless. It worked out pretty well. But anyway, that's an extreme example, okay? Actually, all said and done, we found out it was about $9,000 a month that this manager had been taking, and I went back 3 years. That's how much it was averaging. So, and after 3 years, I'm like, I'm done. Like, just look how much longer it's going to be. And yeah, long story short, it was crazy. That was an extreme example. I was getting calls while I was there for the next 2 days of loan sharks looking for the guy. So yeah, he's probably buried in the desert somewhere by now. Someone probably found him. But that's an extreme example. Okay. The average time that I'm going and doing these financial analysis reports, I always tell people, hey, bring me in. I can pretty much guarantee, if you bring enough revenue, if you're bringing in, $20,000 a month, that kind of thing, in those kind of realms or above, then I'll probably be able to find at least $2,000 a month minimum that you're leaving on the table, or you're setting fire to it. That's this title explained here. You're setting fire to that money every single month. That's just lost money, and it's a lot of times it's kind of easy money that's sitting right there just waiting for you to take it. You just got to know where to look and then how to implement it, and then voila, cool. Now you're making an extra $2,000 a month minimum. A lot of times I can get you much more than that. So what I do, and again, these things, and this is not just me here talking to you like this is how you do an analysis report. We don't. That's an all-day thing. That's not the purpose of this. Just want to kind of just raise some awareness of this is not just a revenue problem. Okay, everything feeds your business. Okay, we're talking your foundations. As far as just your actual physical occupancy at your site, doing a physical walkthrough. I can't tell you how many times I'm just doing a simple walkthrough and it just doesn't match the reports. And that's some stuff going on, if it's not rented in the computer, but there's a customer lock on there. Cool. What's that about? I find that a lot too. So it just kind of starts off with the foundation, just making sure everything matches, with your walkthrough report, with what's physically in the computer, going through the reports, understanding the reports. There's a lot of times when, especially managers too, even though you're sitting there 8 hours a day, haven't really spent the time to go through the reports to understand them. And especially from the owner point of view, many times it's like, cool, give me a management summary. I'm done. Cool, done. there's a lot more to it, okay? And not that you have to go through, in some of these store softwares, you got 500 reports. It really comes down to about 5, okay, that you need to have on a regular basis to really just look at. And I'll do an episode on that too, of just kind of what those 5 reports are. And then if something's a little shady, some things you have more questions, you can always drill down more, okay? But there's always some just an easy 5 reports to go through that really takes care of 80% of what you really need to do to kind of get your finger on the pulse of what's going on at your site. And then we get into marketing, okay? Again, that's revenue generating action items right there. Sometimes you're spending money where you shouldn't be spending money. And sometimes things that are working, you're not spending enough money there. And you can make your dollar work a lot better than over on this other item. So there's things like that. We talk about how you're getting your leads right now, what kind of marketing you're doing, kind of follow up you have in place, doing online marketing. Do as much as you can online for free. And what we can do to optimize that, because that's free rentals. Okay, that's lost money right there too. Okay, go into your conversions. How are you doing on the phone? That's a lot of lost revenue right there. Just having kind of a crappy sales presentation and losing that rental, they're going somewhere else. Well, that's lost money. It's I'm not going to say it's stealing, by losing a lost rental. It's not that, but it's still lost revenue just the same. In my eyes, it's yeah. If it's a bad sales presentation or you're not following up, yeah, you're just like, whatever. I don't want that money. And as we talked about before, the lifetime value of a customer, that one lost rental, it adds up to a lot. All right. So going through that, and then all that kind of leads to now we start getting into like the revenue management and getting into your financial audits and what you're currently doing with your current customers for kind of moving them up for rent raises and for value pricing and on all sorts of things. And then we get into your delinquencies and lien schedules, kind of like what I was talking about in the story. Kind of started off with that. Didn't mean to. I could usually end up with that, but just having a consistent lien schedule. Because I see a lot of times, just another, not to get too far off into the weeds here, but I see a lot of people that will wait to have a lot of units at one time and then have an auction. It's like, you're doing yourself a really big disservice, because man, a lot of those guys that they wouldn't have paid in the first place. Why are you waiting? Nowadays with online auctions, just be consistent. I don't care if you have 1, 2 units, just go. Every other month, just having that process, because that's just lost revenue. Those units are just sitting there of people not paying on their rent that you could have auctioned off, moved on, and now had a paying customer. So same thing, a lot of lost revenue there. So anyway, I kind of say all this not to sell, but I mean, it is what I do, because this is my business too. I do these financial analysis reports for pretty much all over. I'm based here in Utah, so I do a lot of here in the surrounding states. But yeah, I'll go other places too, and it works out. It's findmy400k.com. The way I come up with 400k, just real quick, it's like I said, I can usually find minimum of $2,000 a month. That's kind of just being set on fire, not being utilized, just flush the money down the toilet, whatever kind of analogy you want to put on it. There's $2,000 that you're not finding. I put that on a 7 cap. Okay, that's 400k. This is real. That's 400k in value. It's real money. A lot of times, you kind of put those figures with owners and just have make that connection of, that revenue. Yeah, $2,000. I mean, $2,000 is $2,000. Don't get me wrong, but you put a valuation on that money if you're looking to resell or refinance, sell your property. Yeah, that's minimum 400k. that you're just like, whatever, see ya. No, that's real money. So go to findmy400k.com. You'll see I kind of lay everything out there on what's in this report. What I'm looking at is kind of a whole 360 analysis. You schedule a time, we'll talk, just see if it might be a good fit. Cool. There's the shameless plug. So again, findmy400k.com. But yeah, really kind of put a bow on this is, when's the last time you did that? If you're an existing property, I've really looked at under the hood. at your operations and your revenue and your sales and all that stuff, just to see, cool, is there some money there to be found that you're not currently finding? And same thing, you don't have to be around for a long time. It could be a brand new site, a brand new location that's just coming on board, is just opening up. This is a great way to build that foundation to make sure you're doing everything correctly in the first place. So then you're kind of hitting the ground running, being fully maximized on your efficiencies when it comes to everything. And so yeah, it works both ways, guys. So anyway, that is enough for this episode. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please, on your Spotify's been big lately. So Spotify and Apple iTunes has kind of been the two places. So subscribe, keep it going. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Hi everyone, this is Jim again. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to visit 3milestorage.com for more free resources on how to grow your self-storage business. See you on the next episode.